Welcome back, and let's get started with Spring Framework Web MVC Part 9, right? So what we have achieved so far is we've been able to print this comment, right, the name and the comment, right, using MVC design, Spring Web MVC, and we have used this controller right here. And this time what we did to the controller, not this controller, maybe, yeah, the same controller, slash comment is the URL, yeah, the last slash sum is basically the name of the controller, and slash comment is basically the name of the function, right? You can say slash sum slash comment, which is right here, and then we are passing two request parameters, and then yeah, fine, it's absolutely right. And then we are adding object, and then we are forwarding the object to welcome.jsp, and we are taking out comment.name and comment.comment from using, or we're using here EL, which is expression language, right? So now we are going to do something different today. Okay, so let's start doing something different today. In training industry, I'll go to my source main web app, right, and inside views I'll say, you mind if I make, for example, a new thing here known as let's say about login, right? So for example, let's say about JSP page. So I'm going for a new JSP file, and I call this as login.jsp, right? First thing is first, so let me go and create a new controller for this, right? So we have to create a controller, right? So I'll go to org training industry controllers and create a new controller, and let me call this as login, right, controller, right? So now this is my login controller, and here we are using Java based configurations. We are not using XML based configurations. We are simply relying on annotation based Java configuration in this project of MVC, Spring Web MVC, right? And now what we are going to do here, so this is the controller, so I'll mark this as @controller, right? Okay, the first things first, and I may say that I'll use few different things right here. Okay, that if I go to login, what is going to happen, or maybe I may have some different URLs to deal with. For example, if I say @request mapping, so I will say request mapping value is equivalent to, I will say slash login, right? So the first time, or I don't want this, maybe, right, I want two different things on get, on post. So that's also possible. If you want two functions, one to run on get and another run on post, you can run one function on get and another on post. So that is also happening, possible. Let me take it away and let me go with the first thing is going to be public model and view. So I will call this as let's say about show form. All right, so I want to show the form now. All right, and this is going to be request mapping slash a login, but request method this time is going to be, so I will say value request mapping, and just a moment, so we have to use two different things, value, and I have to use methods. I don't get it. Yeah, method is here. I will say request method is get. So I want on get to, to load the show form, and what the show form is going to do, for example, I say I'll call a model a view. So let me call a new model and view. MV is equivalent to new model and view. Either you can set a view separately, or you can set your view right here. In our case, the view is going to be login, right? So I'll set the view login, right? And I'll say return MV. So this is what is going to happen on post. Not on post, but on get. So on get, we are returning back login, and before returning back, if you want, you can say mv.set object or we can say mv dot add object. What am I doing? Set object? Oh my god, set object is not going to work. mv dot add object is a key and a value pair. I can say, right, welcome has a welcome message, welcome to our login page, right? So this is what you can do right here. And now you can see that this is the first time, or you know that the first time get is going to be called. So that's why on get I'm going to return this login whenever someone types /login. So I'll go and type /login. So I get status 404 not found, right? And it is a controller. It is a controller, right? Yeah. And what is wrong then? Maybe we have to restart it. Okay, restart the server. Okay, let it restart, and yeah, everything else is fine now, so we don't have to worry about anything else, right? Fine. So starting Tomcat. By the time it starts, let me make another function. So I call this as, okay, it has started. Okay, I'll say log in. It should come, right? Why not? Yeah, login is coming. For example, if I show you the title of the same, let me take it separate. Let me show it separately right here. Now you can see the title is login is coming, but yeah, I haven't basically mentioned and I haven't saved the title yet. So I'll have to save the title and mention the title separately right here. So that I'll be doing in a couple of minutes. So let me go to login.jsp and say I will use el here, and I will call, which is going to be welcome, right? I'll call this welcome using el. So let's see what do we get now. Okay, I don't know. So title is going to be $.welcome. I don't know why are we getting this. Maybe el is blocked. Yeah, we're getting. So I'll go ahead and say is el ignored is equivalent to false, right? So I'll just use this el ignored false, and now if I refresh, now you'll get welcome to our login. Based on our, where is this coming from? This is directly, this welcome is directly coming from this model here, right? Or this function right here, show form, because we're adding to the model and view object this, and then we're returning the same model. For example, now I want to run it on post. I want to run something on post now. So now this same method is going to be now submit form. So now instead of show form, we are going to use submit form, but not on get, right? But on post. So this thing is going to happen on post. On get, when we load the website for the first time, you know that get is called by default. You're going to call this login. Actually, you're calling view login, which is the login.jsp, and you're passing the object which is displayed in the title right here, welcome to login page, and this is something that is going to be called on post. So let me go ahead and let me quickly design it. So I'll say table, I'll say tr, right, and I'll quickly go and say td, and I'll say enter your first, or enter your user name. So this is what we can say, in input type. So I can say type is equivalent to text, and why have I closed this input type? Input type is equivalent to text, and I can say name is equivalent to let's say about USERNAME, user name, right? And I'll just give it USERNA. Okay, why are we having this kind of error? Enter your username, and I can say, hey bro, wait a second, enter your let's say about PASSWRD. So now I can use this input type PASSWRD password, right? So I can say input type password name. I can use the same name as password. So let me quickly go and get a button. What do you call it? input type submit, right? And instead of this I'll say value, value, value is equivalent to log in, right? So this thing is done. So let me take a look at this. Right, absolutely fine. Maybe we'll give some cell spacing, which is going to be 5, maybe cell padding, which is again going to be 5. Absolutely all right. Okay, so now this is going to be my login, and I require one more area where I can display the message. So I'll go with another tr just to display the error message and every single thing. So I'll say this is going to be my login panel, and here I will be displaying all the error messages in the small tag maybe. And let's say about style, I'll give it color red. So I'll be displaying all the error message here. So let me think. Let's say this is going to be MESSAGE message, right? So one thing is there for expression whenever you use EL, right? So whenever we use EL, so you see that it is not going to throw null pointer exception because I have used message. Since I know that there's nothing in message, right? You can see it's not going to throw that null pointer exception. Now we know that inside welcome it's getting welcome to our login page, right? So, but here we don't have anything that we can transfer or show. Fine. One thing you can do, you can say mv.add object MESSAGE message welcome to our login page. Now you can get this message if you want to display, but on post, not on get. So you'll be getting this message on post because, right, we have to use a form. Now because I want to submit my form to this URL, which is going to be login, alright, but on post this time. So I'll say form method is equivalent to post, right? And I will say now what is the form action, right? So I'll say form action is equivalent to login, and I'm going to close this form right here. All right, so form is closed. Fine. Now so let me post it. Right, welcome to our login page. Now you can see it's happening on post. Welcome to our login page. So it's happening on post. Now you're calling, this is what you're calling on get. By default get is called, and this is what happens on post. And on post basically this gets empty, right? So you want that to happen on post as well. What you can do right here, all right, you can say mv.add object welcome, and you can add message as well. All right, now you can get it welcome to our login page on get, and we should get it on post as well. Welcome. Why aren't we getting it on post then? We should get it on post. So let me save and retry. Yeah, so this is welcome to our login page. We're getting on post and on get, but this thing here we are only going to get on. So this is where we are going to display all our error message. And now this time what I want, I do not want manual we can say mappings. I want automatic mappings to take place. Now I'll tell you how do you automatically map your model right here. So now what I do, I'll again go to my packages, so which is going to be model. I will say new, right, and I'll say class, and I call this as users. So let me call this class as users, and let me make private string username, private string password, private string message. So we are using three things right here: private string username, password, and I'm using message right here. So let me quickly go and create let me quickly go and create source, getters and setters. So let me create getters and setters for all. And let me also create one more thing right here, because it's going to be a plain old Java object class which is Pojo, right? And I will say source, where's constructor, generate constructor using fields. I'll say generate, but I don't need to call any super here, so I don't want this. All right, the second thing is going to be a zero parameterized constructor. So now this is a complete Pojo. This is my zero parameter constructor, this is my parameterized constructor, and getters and setters, username, password, message. But now because you are going to use automatic mapping, one thing is that you can do, let me first show you the conventional way. So I'll show you it using a conventional way, and then we'll go to the automatic way, right? So we could start with conventional way, no problem. So I can say that, hey, whenever you submit the form, you get at the rate of REQ, get the request param, right? And the param name is going to be user name, right? Get it as string, right? Get it as string u, SERNAME, right? So this is the first thing. I'll say, hey, wait a second, I need to get second parameter as well. I'll say at annotation, I'll use the annotation request param, and I'll call this param a name. I'll say password, PASS, password, right? And I will take it as string password, right? Is that clear? Now we're taking username and we are taking password both as a request parameter. So this is my model and view object, and yeah, absolutely fine. Now what I do right here, wait a second, now I need to create a controller now, right, which is my business service, right? So I do not have business services here, so I'll go and create a new, right? I'll create a new package. So I'll say org dot this training industry. So I'll say org dot training industry, right, dot services, and I'll create org dot training industry dot service. So I'll say now my accounts, right? So I'll say account ACCOUNT. So I'll create account service right here, right now. So I'll create a function here, public void login, right? And I'll make sure that this function in here accepts the model, not basically the parameter. So it's going to accept the complete model, which is of users, and I'll call this as user, right? So now that's done. Okay, now let me go ahead and call, I'll say first user dot set, or we'll have to make an object of users. I'll say users, user is equivalent to new users. So I'll have to import this users, which is model.users, and now I can say user.set username, which is this username right here, and I can say user.set password, which is going to be this password right here, that whatever is whatever you're accepting from this parameter whenever post is happening, right? You're accepting two things, a string username and string password as username and as PSSWRD password. And now the third thing that I do, I created a service which is my accounts.java. So I'll say accounts, right? So let me make an object here. So let me make both the objects here. So I'll say accounts controller. So I'll say ACCOUNTS. So I'll say accounts, right? AC is equivalent to new account. So it's account service, right? So now I'll say AC dot, now accounts is AC. I'll say AC dot login user. That's it. I'll just go to my accounts controller and I'll print, I'll say system.out.login, print ln. So I'll say user dot get username plus I'll say user dot get password. Now you're getting user dot get username and user dot get password. So let me see how does it look. Right. Okay. So let me see how does it look from the console now. Okay, hit enter. So I will say NIIT and password is, let's say about PSS password. Both the things are coming right here. So this thing has been successfully achieved. Right. Now what I do here, I don't need to show it here. I'll create three. I will create private void is valid. Right. The second thing that I will create, private boolean is authentic, right? And this is also going to be boolean. And then in the next class we'll integrate regular expressions right here. All right, so we'll be using regular expressions, but in the next class, so not today. So time will not permit me to use regular expressions today, because we are going to create rock solid security here. So okay, so let's see users. I'll make this here user, right? Okay, now everything is done. So this function checks for validation whether the user data that is entered is valid or not. I'll say if user dot get username dot equals, right? So I don't want to take cases, so I'll say if dot equals blank, right? If it is not equivalent to blank, so because I'm using not, that means if it is not empty, right? And I will say and user dot, let me say, yeah, and user dot get password dot equals. So if it is not, even I will use not here. If it is not equivalent to the blank string, then do this. Else, if they are blank, then do this. So I'll say return RETURN. I'll say return true. So now in case if it is, right, what do I do then? Alright, then you do one thing. User has a parameter message. I'll say user.set message. Please write a username and a password. Right? Now what is happening here? Now whenever you call this value or pass the object users and it takes out username and password, if they are empty, you return true. If they are not empty, you return true. If they are empty, you return this with return false. You are setting the message, right? Because user has third member variable or third property, which is message. Please write a username and a password. If it is not null and if password is not null, then you are returning true. So far this function has been used very well. And now we'll go to authentic. I'll say, hey, if this dot get, not this, if user, because you're passing the object user, if user dot get username dot equal, so let me hard code it before I get connected to database using Hibernate or maybe using JDBC, and user dot get password dot equals, right? So I'll say pass, right? So if the username has entered username as an ID and password as pass, or maybe you can say even not pass but the complete password, so I'll say password, right? If it has entered, if it is equivalent to an ID, then you got to return true, right? Else what you could do is return false. But before returning false, you can say user dot set message, because return means code will not be executed after return. If I return first and then write set message, it's not going to work, right? So I'll say incorrect username or password. So it is incorrect username or So both are not being used. Now what I'll do, I'll apply abstraction and encapsulation both in a single function, right? Why abstraction? Because I'm not providing relevant information, right? So I'm only providing relevant information, which is this public void login, and these two are private, and they are meant to be encapsulated here. So I'll encapsulate them here. Means I'll wrap them here. If is valid, I'll say if this dot is valid. So first you check for the validation. If this is a valid function, then you call if this dot is authentic. Now if it is authentic, if it is valid and it is also authentic, and then if it is valid and it's authentic also, what do you want? I don't want anything else. A user dot right, or let me call this third function right here, because I may have to use it in a different way in the near future, not today, but yeah, in the near future we may have to use it differently. So I'll say private void, so it needs not to be boolean, authorize, it takes user parameter. Now what do I do? Right, so this is the authorize function. So now this function does nothing but user.set message, right? User dot get username, right? So I'll just concatenate has been logged in, or we can say is now logged in, whatever you want, so I don't mind. Right, so now if everything happens good, I will say this dot authorize. That's it. Now what is happening? Outside you have to call only one function. That is why only one function is public, which is login. When you call this function from outside, within this function I have three private functions being encapsulated. Why are they private? They are not meant to be called outside the class, so that's why they are private. And you check if this is valid. If user has entered valid data, only then check for authentication. If user is authentication, only then check for authorization, right? And in else, you're already setting the message in every function. You can set message here also, but since you have set it already there, so I don't want it, right? So now encapsulation, abstraction, and my service, which is my login service, is absolutely ready here. Now you need not to do anything. You have done everything that you had to do. Just change this message here to user.get message. That's it. Right, you're changing this add object message, which you are displaying right here, right, in red color. So you are passing now the message you're getting from ac.login user. I'll hit please write a username and a password. Spring at its best, so I'll write username. You'll say still write username and a password. So I write incorrect username and password. So if I write an ID and I write pass, now correct username and what is correct? I just forgot what was the correct. It was an ID and password, right? Yeah, I changed it to complete password. So I'll type. Now we should get NIT is now logged in. Now what my main aim for showing you this kind of lecture is, or this kind of theory is, basically I want my module to be mapped automatically here. I don't want it to be mapped like we are mapping, right? Like we are doing here is we are setting user.set username, user.set password, and creating this and that and that. So I don't want this. Now what do I want then? So I will say, hey, wait a minute, right? Can I accept, let's say about model parameter, just like this? Let's say about, can I accept it like this? So I'll get rid of this, right? So I'll get rid of this as well, right? So I'll go here and I'll say I need to accept at the rate of model attribute. Now see the magic of Spring. So that's why we love Spring. So what do you want to call it? I want to call it as user, right? I want to call my model object as a user, right? And what do you want to pass to this a user? What do you want? All right, I want to pass user right here. Now you can see that. Absolutely. All right, you don't have to do get and set. It's already done. Now it has basically, it will automatically mapped with the user, right? So that's why you're adding this attribute, right? Why are you adding this? because it is going to be automatically mapped. Now what is the input type? Here it is input name is username and input name here is password. Now in order to automatically map the model attribute with add as that of the request parameters or request attributes, what you need to do, you have to make sure that the model has same spelling, right? Username, password. Now what are you sending on post? Same username and password. Had it been capital, if it is capital, that one is small, so no, it is not going to work then, right? It should be identical, right? The member variables in the model should match as that of the input control names, right? So that is only when this model is going to map everything automatically. So now we have got rid of get and set. Now we are assuming as if everything has been automatically mapped without we doing the push and pull of the data. So let me try once again. Yeah, because please write a username and a password. Now if I write something, I get incorrect username and password. So now if I write correct username and correct password, I get, and it is now logged in. So now in case if I supply let's say about, if I say it's not username, it's going to be txt username, it's not password, it is going to be txt password. Now then what is going to happen then if I do it like this? Now if I say login, just a moment, you're going to get an internal server error. This has caused exception, right? Because this is going to cause an exception. It will be an exception because you're trying to, no, it's a null pointer exception. You're trying to initialize something that has null values. Right? Mapping has not been successful because mapping will only happen when the model attribute has the same and identical name. But here it is username and password. And what are you doing here? txt username and txt password. No, it is not going to work that way. Instead of txt username and instead of txt password, it should be better that we use it and it should be identical, right? So once we make them as identical, now you can say not doing anything at all automatic mapping, no push and pull of data. That is the magic of Spring. That is why Spring is so beautiful, and that's why each and everyone loves Spring. Now we'll refresh it, and now the software starts working. Now imagine if it's a registration form, you're taking too many registrations, right? You're taking too many fields, and now doing get and set and push and pull of data gets often very hectic, right? Right? So that's why to avoid that hectic mode, what we do, we use model attribute, right? And we can see that we use the single, we are only returning a single, we can clearly see we add on get, we are returning single model, and on post we are returning single, and that we are using not login.jsp. If I go to login.jsp, it's not going to, it's going to throw an error, because what is login.jsp? We are going to use friendly URLs here, which is login, and then I say by login, and if I write correct username and password, then I get you're logged in, and it is now logged in. Now we have to integrate, yeah, we know that we have to integrate database here, and for that we have to learn many different things. So we will be learning Hibernate, we will be integrating Hibernate with Spring, inshallah, maybe after 2 or 3 lectures. But yeah, still we have many things to learn. It's already been 33 minutes, so I don't think we are going to take it so far. Alright, and let me show you the final thing and close it down. Right, with the final thing. So we have the third thing, which is known as, let me call this as, for example, now if someone calls, so I'll make it public model, and so I'll say it's going to be public model and you test me. Alright, so this is going to be a function that is going to be mapped with, so I'll say @of request. So I'll do a request mapping of this with /welcome. Right, and now what are we going to take here? I'll show you something different, right? So first let me map this with /welcome. So whenever anyone types welcome, maybe we have done that already, who knows? Yeah, are you sure? Yeah, we have done it already, maybe, right? Let me see that. Have we done it already? Do we have welcome file here? Okay, we have welcome, right? So welcome.jsp. Okay, we can say that is going to be test, right? So I'll not make it inside the same folder which is views, so I'll make it outside, so where index is, right? Directly in the web pages, right? So I'll make directly in the web page, I'll make a new JSP file just for testing purpose, right? So I'll say JSP and I'll call this as test, right? So I'll just use it for testing purpose. Even if you don't want to use it for testing purpose, yet you can say, okay, fine, I can directly go and fire the controller, right? Okay, now I'll go to my controller, which is login controller, and it is already in my component scan package. Yeah. So the name is test me, all right? And now what I do here is just say model and view. Why don't I return it back? So let me have this test.jsp in views, right? So let me have it. Okay, now this test.jsp in views. I'll say model.views is equivalent to new model and view. So that's absolutely all right, right? And I can say mv.add object. So I can say mv.add object, for example, msg, which is going to be message. Now, what do you want that message to be? Right? So I'll tell you what that message is going to be. But anyways, we'll just keep it hello world for the sake, just for the sake of class. Just for 10 minutes, so before we are done with every single thing, so I'll just terminate it and say return m. That's it. Alright, so let me go and first run this test, right? Because I have to first check whether it's running, and then slowly and steadily we'll do different things. Okay, now I'll go to my test URL now. So now we can have it here, right? Test is working. Now if I go here and say h1, so just I'm going to use h3 tags to display a message which is msg that we are setting there. What are we setting to the model and view? Right, we are setting msg, so we are going to return the same model and view. So I don't want to return some different model and view, so I return the same. I'll say I'm returning you back yourself, right? I'm returning you yourself back. Now we should get the message like anything. Fine, so we are getting as message, and you know now you're now aware of what has to be done. Is el ignored false? So I'll just delete it and our el will start working. Now you're getting this model message from this login controller right here. Okay, now what I want, now I will say, hey, I want to accept a URL which is going to be a pattern, which is this. Let's call this as SERIES, series, and let me call this as name. I'm going to accept series and name. I'm going to accept URL pattern like this. For example, if there are 3 slashes, I'll say /SER, which is going to be series, and / something, right? So I'm going to accept this URL right here, so series, and then we are going to have name, right? So you can accept this kind of URL if you want to accept this kind of URL. So there's not going to be any problem. So I'll say SERIES -name. So you can accept just like this. You can accept if you go to that. So that thing can be also achieved if you want to achieve that particular thing as well. For example, so I'll say test-1 this and test-2, so like just like that. So let me rerun it, restart. Have a look at timings. So we still have good amount of time. Okay, now we have still 1 minute remaining. Okay, we are going to conclude this and continue with the path variables, because we have to use here a path variable to get all those things. So we use an annotation path just like this. So we'll be using this annotation path variable, and we'll try to get a map of things from this URL right here, right? So for that, we have to wait for the next class. Until then, you complete this, right? It's a nice way of handling the request and response. And believe me, Spring is the world's most famous, most powerful, most secure, and most user-friendly framework, MVC framework, that we are going to use, and we're still using. We have started using it, and it's fun. Didn't you see that we have enjoyed every bit of it? It's going to be a real fun using this, right? And till then, you practice this very hard, and we'll come back and learn model attribute, and we are going to learn path variable attributes from tomorrow, inshallah. Until then, wish you all the best. Do complete your work. Let me know in the comment section if you require my help or not. In case you don't require me, right? Do practice very hard, and I wish you all the best. See you tomorrow. Bye bye. Take care.